Bacon Monster Lives. This is a Lake Scatterwood Tales short story for middle grade readers by J. Wilburn. If you like what you read, check out the Lake Scatterwood Tales books. There are 2 chapter book stories in each book. Crazy things are always happening at Lake Scatterwood. Once a month, I write a young reader story from one of my series. I have 2 middle grade series, 1 young adult series. Lake Scatterwood is one of the middle grade series. And in the past, I've kind of scaled it down so that struggling readers or even younger readers can connect with it. I originally wrote the first stories for my son, who was in middle school but was struggling as a reader, and so I wanted him to have stories that he found interesting but that were like on his reading level. And so that's how they started, and then I started publishing after that, and they kind of got a little popular, so I have kept doing it. But I do a free short story on my Patreon page every month from one of those worlds. And this one's called The Bacon Monster, which appeared as sort of a side character in one of the first stories. One thing I'm going to need to do with this is pull back the vocabulary a little bit. I kind of got a little cute and existential with this particular story, so I think I need to, on the first pass, I'm going to see if I can pull the vocabulary out a little bit more. And the ending isn't exactly right. I haven't given my Bacon Monster a good enough ending. It's okay if the ending's open, but I want it to be clearer what path this creature's on. As much, thought as you put into a bacon monster, I suppose. Alright, so let's jump on in. Nothing is more confusing for a pile of raw bacon than to come to life. Sure, bacon comes from pigs and they're alive, but bacon coming to life would be like your toast or orange juice suddenly talking to you. Okay, that's a good example of sort of the tone I want to get, but then also the vocabulary. There's no words here that are particularly long or unusual. I didn't quite stick to that as we went through, so I'll see if I can pull back the vocabulary a little without compromising the story, I suppose. At Lake Scatterwood, the night the aliens came, the pile of bacon in the kitchen woke up for the first time. There was a lot of screaming. The bacon monster was already confused about being alive, but screaming children just made it harder to figure out what was going on. He looked down at his bacon arms and legs. They were really more like tentacles, but Bacon Monster had no experience with sea life, so they were arms and legs to him. He tried to talk to the children. He somehow knew that screaming didn't mean anything good, but he didn't know how to talk. So his comforting words came out as grunts. Okay, let's change comforting to nice. So it'll mean the same thing, but it'll be easier to read. So his nice words came out as grunts and growls. When the children became more afraid, he tried to go to them for a hug. He didn't know the word for hug, but he worried for the scared children and thought it might help. Sure, he was made of reanimated bacon. Okay. Let's change reanimated to living. Sure, he was made of living bacon, but he still had a kind bacon heart at his greasy center. He started screaming. Okay. He started screaming when he fell off the counter and splatted on the floor. He had no idea he was on a counter until he was already falling. Hitting the floor hurt. Makes sense. All right, let's make it a question to the reader. And let's make it a complete sentence. I don't want to teach kids bad habits. All right. That makes sense. Right? Anything alive that hits a floor without expecting it is going... Okay, hitting a floor without, let's say, knowing it. Doesn't quite... It's not quite perfect for that sentence, but it's easier to read. Without knowing it... Alright, anything that hits the floor... Let's cut it down a little. Anything that hits the floor is going to hurt a little. So that's much simpler anyway, and it's easier to read. Good job, Jay. Pat myself on the back. On top of that, Bacon Monster was made of loose pieces of bacon, so hitting the floor made him fall apart. As his pieces spread, it got harder to think. He had only just started thinking, so he wasn't great at it anyway. Let me take out anyway. Just say he wasn't great at it. Okay. He did feel like he was losing himself, so he did his best to calm down and pull himself back together. As his bacon slices reformed into his proper monster shape, he realized he was much smaller than he originally thought. He was. By the time he could see out of his bacon eyes, the kids had run away from the camp kitchen. They were still screaming. Bacon Monster felt responsible, so he followed after them to see if he could clear up this misunderstanding. I'll do it that way. It's a little less awkward. Alright, things grew more confusing as he entered the dining hall. The tables, chairs, and a couple trees were chasing the kids back outside. Bacon Monster didn't know what was supposed to be alive and what wasn't. Still, he understood traffic was thick, and he needed to be careful to not be stepped on. As he made his way outside, there were more walking trees, hopping rocking chairs, a canoe inching its way after the kids, and giant alien robots with ray guns. Bacon Monster was really happy all these people were concerned with the well-being of the children. All these people, let's say, really happy. All these people wanted to help the children too. All right, so that's an easier sentence, and it means roughly the same thing. All right, so he joined the chase. The aliens fired their ray guns at the children. This made Bacon Monster stop. Every living, moving thing has some instincts. Do I want to say instincts? Has some feelings. Alright. Bacon Monster was new at all this, but shooting ray guns at children just felt wrong to him in his greasy bacon guts. Alright, that's good. Bacon Monster decided to do something about it. He turned on the 10-foot tall aliens and marched toward them. He stopped in front of the closest one and gave his best speech on... Oh gosh, I did a bunch of... tried to be really cute here. Let's say he gave his best speech on good manners, making the right choices, and being a good citizen. Alright, all that'll make sense, and it should be pretty easy to read. Okay. Of course, he had not learned to talk yet, so it all came out as growls. The alien kicked the Bacon Monster through the air. He landed in 3 different piles with rocks, leaves, and dirt sticking to his slices. He had a real identity crisis. Okay. Would that work? An identity crisis. Should I say it that way? He had a... Yeah, I'll just leave it that way. It's a little bit of a stretch, but I think it'll go well with middle school kids. He had a real identity crisis. Who was he? What did it mean to be Bacon Monster? What power did he have in the world to change things for the better? What was his bacon purpose in life? Was he 3 tiny bacon monsters, or was he still his old bacon self? When the piles pulled back together, he felt better. As he looked around, he saw the ray guns were bringing things to life. Bacon Monster had his first revelation at that point. No, I don't want to use the word revelation. Had his first... Let's say deep thought. Had his first deep thought at that moment. The ray guns had brought him to life. The aliens weren't friends with the kids. The kids were afraid. Bacon Monster decided it was time to pick sides. He rushed towards the children to tell them he was here to help. The problem was the growls instead of words. Let's say the problem was all the growls instead of words. The children used mirrors to bounce the rays back and destroyed the ray guns. As each one exploded, the walking trees, chairs, and tables stopped in place. Bacon Monster stopped too, but he was stopping to think again. He was getting really good at thinking. Okay. This was it. For the children to defeat the aliens, the things the ray guns brought to life had to go back to normal. Normal for Bacon Monster was to be slices of bacon. He wanted the kids to win, though, so he waited for what must happen. When the last ray gun exploded, he fell apart. He felt himself drifting away and missed the end of the battle. He wasn't sure how much time had passed, but he heard the children again. They talked about how gross the bacon had gotten on the ground. They said they loved bacon and would miss it. That made Bacon Monster feel good. Then, as their voices got further away, he realized he was still hearing, still feeling, and still thinking. He tried his best to pull himself back together. Nothing happened at first, but then the slices of raw bacon started to twitch. Piece by piece, he slid back together and found himself alone in all the mess of the battle. Let me add something in here. That's pretty... Okay, hold on. What do I want to say? If you really believe in yourself, you can accomplish, let's not say accomplish, let's say you can do great things even if you are made of bacon. All right, there we go. I like that. All right, moving along, he thought about going to show the children that he was still alive. Then he thought things would not go well until he learned to talk. With a deep sigh, Bacon Monster followed the trail out to the road. He slithered under the gate to the camp and kept going. Cars passed him as he marched along the side of the road, gathering more dirt on his greasy slices. Bacon Monster found his way to town. It was still dark as he made his way... let's not say way twice. As he moved along the sidewalk, he found trash around an ice cream shop and put that away in the trash can. You might ask how he knew to throw things away, but really, isn't that the easiest thing in the world to learn and remember? Farther along, he came to some houses. Toys were left in the yard. Bacon Monster gathered them and put them away in the open garage. Some of the kids and parents would wonder why the toys are so greasy, but everyone is happy when things are put away. Animals were interested in Bacon Monster. Who doesn't love the smell of bacon? When they saw him moving or he growled as he tried to hug them, they ran away. Bacon Monster saw families moving around in the houses. He did not go up to the windows because he remembered how afraid the children had been, and he kind of figured looking in people's houses wasn't cool. Alright, let me add one more thing in here. Then one of the animals didn't run away. It was a cat, but Bacon Monster didn't know what cats were. It was yowling loudly, but Bacon Monster thought it was just trying to talk like him. Alright, let me make a new paragraph. As he got closer, he saw the cat was tangled up in something. The cat was scared of Bacon Monster. But he got closer anyway. He took a couple seconds. Let me spell couple right. He took a couple seconds to to puzzle over the knot in the cord around the cat's paw. It wasn't easy to untie a knot with Bacon hands, but he kept working at it. Finally, the cat was free and ran off. Bacon Monster was proud. He felt like he had helped tonight. As the sun came up, Bacon Monster continued along the highway. He didn't know what life had in store for him, but everyone has to find their purpose someday. All right. I think that's pretty good. I might take another pass at it later, but I think we have a solid story there.